My parents sued me because I refused to pay off my unemployed sister's debt. Sounds crazy, right? But it happened, and what I did next taught them a lesson they'll never forget. This whole mess started a few months ago. I was at work, deep into a project, when my phone rang. It was my mom, and she sounded frantic. "You have to help your sister," she cried, without even a hello. I could hear my dad yelling something in the background. "Mom, slow down. What's going on with Sarah?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "She's in trouble, big trouble. She has all this debt, and they're threatening to take everything. You have to pay it off for her." I took a deep breath. This wasn't the first time. My sister, Sarah, has always been, let's just say, financially irresponsible. She's 2 years older than me, but you wouldn't know it. While I was working my way through college, holding down 2 part-time jobs, Sarah was living it up. She dropped out after 1 semester, declaring that the 9-to-5 life wasn't for her. Instead, she decided to become a lifestyle influencer. The problem was, her lifestyle was funded entirely by our parents and a growing mountain of credit card debt. "Mom, how much is it this time?" I asked, already dreading the answer. There was a pause. $50,000. I almost dropped my phone. 50,000. How on earth did she rack up that much debt? "It doesn't matter how," my dad shouted, grabbing the phone from my mom. "She's your sister. We raised you to help each other. You have a good job, a nice apartment. You can afford it. It's your duty to help family." "I work as a software engineer. Yes, I make a decent living, but I earned it. I have student loans I'm still paying off. I'm saving for a down payment on a house, and I have my own future to think about. $50,000 isn't just pocket change I can throw away." "Dad, I can't just give her $50,000, I said firmly. "I have my own financial responsibilities. I helped her last time with her car payment, and the time before that with her rent. This has to stop. She needs to learn to stand on her own 2 feet. "How can you be so selfish?" he roared. "She's unemployed. She has no way to pay it. Do you want to see your sister homeless?" This was their classic guilt trip. They'd always enabled Sarah, bailing her out of every mistake while telling me I needed to be more understanding. When I got scholarships for college, they told me I was lucky. When I graduated with honors, they barely acknowledged it. But when Sarah posted a picture on Instagram with a borrowed designer bag, they'd call me to gush about how she was making it. "This isn't about being selfish, Dad. This is about tough love. If you keep bailing her out, she'll never learn." "I'm not paying it." And I hung up. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. So wrong. The next few weeks were a nightmare of angry phone calls and manipulative texts. They called me heartless, ungrateful, a disgrace to the family. Sarah herself sent me a long, tearful message about how I was abandoning her in her time of need, and how my success had made me forget where I came from. It was peak drama. I stood my ground. I told them my decision was final. Then, about a month later, a registered letter arrived at my apartment. I opened it, my hands shaking slightly. It was a legal document. My own parents were suing me. They were suing me for parental support, claiming that since they had spent their savings bailing out Sarah, they were now financially destitute, and I, as their successful child, had a legal obligation to support them. And the amount they were suing me for, you guessed it, $50,000, plus legal fees. I couldn't believe what I was reading. It was a blatant, transparent attempt to legally force me to pay Sarah's debt. I felt a wave of anger so intense it made me dizzy. This was the ultimate betrayal. My own parents were using the legal system to manipulate me. That's when I knew I couldn't just let this go. They wanted a fight. I'd give them one. The first thing I did was hire the best lawyer I could find. When I explained the situation to her, her jaw practically hit the floor. She told me their case was flimsy, but that we needed to be prepared. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about principle. While my lawyer handled the legal side, I started my own investigation. My parents claimed they had spent all their savings on Sarah. They had always been comfortable, my dad having a pension from his government job. I found it hard to believe they were truly destitute. So, I did some digging. It wasn't hard to find the truth. Sarah's Instagram was a public diary of her spending. Lavish brunches, designer clothes with the tags often visible, weekend trips to fancy resorts. I started documenting everything. I cross-referenced the dates of her posts with bank statements I knew my parents had access to. A trip to a spa resort coincided with a large withdrawal from their savings account. A new laptop for her influencer career matched another. It was a clear pattern. They weren't just helping her with necessities. They were funding a lifestyle she couldn't afford and I wouldn't support. But I needed more. I needed irrefutable proof. I remembered my dad mentioning years ago that he kept detailed financial records for tax purposes. He was old school, everything in ledgers and file cabinets in his home office. The office he always kept locked. One weekend, I called my mom, pretending I wanted to mend things. I told her I was coming over to talk. I knew my dad would be out for his regular Saturday golf game. When I arrived, my mom was relieved, thinking I had come to my senses. While she was making tea, I made an excuse to use the upstairs bathroom. My heart was pounding as I walked past it and went straight to the office. It was locked, just as I expected. But I came prepared. I had watched enough online videos to know how to pick a simple lock. A few tense moments with a paperclip and a tension wrench, and I found the ledgers immediately. It was all there, in my dad's neat handwriting. Years of financial records. And a separate ledger titled Sarah. I flipped through the pages, my anger growing with every entry. Loan for car, rent money, help for bills. But then I saw the recent entries. Gift for new wardrobe, vacation funding, credit card payment. The total came to well over $50,000, all within the last year, and next to each entry was a note. Loan. They were framing these as loans, not gifts. This was my smoking gun. They weren't broke because they were supporting a struggling daughter. They were broke because they were irresponsibly bankrolling her fantasy life, and they expected me to clean up their mess. I took pictures of every single page with my phone. Then, I put everything back exactly as I found it, locked the door, and went back downstairs. I made some lame excuse about not feeling well and left before my dad got home. The day of the court hearing arrived. My parents, Sarah, and their lawyer were on one side, looking smug. My parents had dressed in old worn-out clothes to look pitiful. Sarah was dabbing her eyes with a tissue. It was a pathetic performance. Their lawyer presented their case, painting me as a cold, wealthy daughter abandoning her poor, elderly parents. Then it was our turn. My lawyer stood up. "Your Honor," she began, "my client is not ungrateful. She is, however, unwilling to be financially exploited. The plaintiffs claim they are destitute due to supporting their daughter, Sarah. They have framed this as a case of necessary parental support. But we have evidence to show this is a fraudulent attempt to force my client to pay off her sister's irresponsible debts." She then presented the evidence. First, the printouts from Sarah's Instagram. Photos of her luxury lifestyle, displayed on a large screen for the whole court to see. The judge raised an eyebrow. Then, my lawyer brought up the bank statements, showing the huge sums of money flowing from my parents' account. But the final blow was the pictures of my dad's ledger. My lawyer projected the photos of the pages, clearly showing the entries marked as loan to Sarah. My dad's face went white. My mom gasped. Sarah looked like she was about to faint. "Your Honor," my lawyer declared, "as you can see, these were not gifts out of necessity. They were documented as loans. If the plaintiffs are in financial trouble, their first course of action should be to collect the $50,000 owed to them by their other daughter, Sarah, not to sue the child who has been responsible." The judge stared at my parents. His expression was stern. "Is this true?" he asked my father. "Did you document these payments as loans?" My dad stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. Their lawyer was frantically shuffling through his papers, completely blindsided. The judge slammed his gavel. "Case dismissed," he announced, his voice booming. "And I am frankly appalled at this blatant misuse of the court. I am considering sanctions against you and your counsel for filing a frivolous lawsuit." My parents and Sarah hurried out of the courtroom, utterly humiliated. I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. I had won, but I had lost my family in the process. A few days later, my dad called. He didn't yell this time. His voice was quiet, defeated. He apologized. He admitted they had been wrong, that they had let their favoritism for Sarah cloud their judgment. He begged me to forgive them. I told him I needed time. The hurt was too deep. I didn't just teach them a lesson in court. I taught myself one too. Sometimes, the hardest thing to do is to stand up for yourself, especially to the people you're supposed to love unconditionally. My relationship with my family is still strained, and I don't know if it will ever fully heal, but I'm no longer their safety net. I'm living my own life, on my own terms, and I'm not sorry for it. I hope one day, Sarah learns to do the same. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever been in a similar situation, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.